So I got a desktop and then I've got the webcam over here. So I guess when you ask me the questions, and I'll just look into the webcam and not look at you.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing. I'll try to do this as like a split screen. I'm not, and I'm recording it, so I'm not 100% sure how that's going to look on my end, but we'll just do some editing if we have to. And I'll go to people that know about that stuff. I only know a little bit.
Okay. So, then are you sitting in Richmond today?
I am. Yeah, I live in Richmond, but I'm down in North Carolina 4 or 5 times a year. Uh,
Okay.
and even this year, yeah, I've been down a few times, but of course, it's just been a disaster.
Well, I told Amy that the next time she's out here, I go out there occasionally. Actually, going out there coming up, but we do a lot of work with them. But I told her the next time she's out here, we ought to, just drive down and see you if you're up
Yeah,
for
no,
that.
absolutely. I'm looking forward to that too. And she had talked about it for Aviation Day, and then we also talked about it for December 17th. And of course, all
Mm-hmm.
that's out the window. But
Here we are, right?
it's nice to meet you. This is in person as we're going to get anytime soon. So it's nice to meet you in person.
Absolutely.
So, yeah,
Unfortunately.
I've definitely just been trying to reach out to all the aviation organizations I can get a hold of. Some we've had relationships with in the past and we're renewing them. Some we've never had a relationship with. So I literally met Amy through Instagram.
Hmm.
And, I guess we've kind of been pen pals for about a year or more.
Hmm.
But I think she's great and I get a lot of advice from her.
Yeah, she's terrific. We've known each other several years, and over the last year and a half, the Hall of Fame and NAA have done a lot of work together. We do a webinar series together, a bunch of different things that we're working on together. So it's been a good partnership. I think our organizations are very complementary.
Yeah, yeah, that's terrific. Yeah, I'm hoping to get her either on a video or she's going to supply a video or something. But yeah, we've been running around trying to get videos, as many videos as we can, so that we have some content for December 17th. Because normally it would have been an in-person event under a tent, usually outside, but that's all. It's been restricted to death, basically. So we're
Right.
like, all right, this will be our way of celebrating this time.
Well, I know she'd be up for, doing something like this or submitting something. And so, I think all you have to do is invite her.
Yeah, yeah. Well, which I have. So we just have to figure out what form that's going to take. So anyway, yeah. Yeah, she's also helped me out too. And then luckily I've talked with Amanda Wright Lane, who you should know.
I know,
And,
Amanda. Yeah.
she's been involved for a long time. She's a lifetime member. And, I didn't meet her till this year. And once again, only through phone calls, et cetera. And she's been wonderful and she's helped us out quite a bit.
Yep. Yeah, I first met her. I was president of the Aero Club of Washington, and
Okay.
5 years ago when David McCullough's book came out, and so David McCullough came and spoke, which was like one of the highlights of my whole career. And Amanda was there at the lunch. That's the first time I'd met her, and I've met her at Hall of Fame enshrinements and that kind of thing. So,
Oh, yeah, the McCullough book I love, and I've been a fan of his for years.
hmm.
And he's one of the like I think I actually listened. I listened to at least one of his books on audio,
Hmm.
and he's one of the few authors who can narrate his own book. He's got a
Right.
great voice, and
He tells a story about that when he was speaking to the Aero Club. He said that he was in a store one time and was talking to the cashier or whatever, and the guy behind him on line said, "Say, were you the narrator for this Ken Burns Civil War series?" And he said, "Well, I was." And the guy said, "I fell asleep to you every night."
maybe
So he
maybe
tells these self-deprecating. Yeah, he tells
maybe
these wonderful self-deprecating stories.
I was going to say yeah, maybe not the compliment he wanted to hear.
Right, right.
All right, well I
Yeah.
guess I'll start this off. Anyway, this is in honor of December 17th, 1903. It is our part of our celebration. And my name is Mike Fonseca. I'm president of the First Flight Society. And today my guest is Greg Principato, and he is the president of the National Aeronautics Association, NAA. Welcome, Greg.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I appreciate you taking the time.
Sure.
I'm just going to start off. The best way, I think, is for you to tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your history and how you ended up as the head of the NAA.
Well, I sort of came through at a circular route, I guess. Started off on Capitol Hill more than 40 years ago, worked for a couple of senators, worked for a governor of Virginia who was very interested in aviation. And the short version of the story is after his term, he and I were working together in the private sector. President Clinton asked him to chair an aviation commission. He asked me to be the executive director, and my aviation career started.
Oh,
Uh,
terrific.
I ran the, I'm sorry, I ran the Airport Trade Association for 8 years, the State Aviation Association for 2 years. And when this opportunity came up, I just couldn't pass it up. NAA is such a wonderful organization. It's the oldest national aviation organization in the country. And as a lover of history and aviation, it was just too good to pass up.
Yeah, no, I can understand that. So it sounds like you've had quite the career in aviation. Is aviation something you were into, since you were a child, or did it just kind of come up through your work career?
Well, it really kind of came up through my work career. When I was a kid, I lived in New Jersey and lived under the flight path into Newark Airport. And so there were always planes overhead, and I always wondered where they were going, where they came from. My first plane flight was when I was 5. We moved in 1961 to California. My second one was 6 months later when we moved back to New Jersey. Um, but later in life, I traveled extensively, whether through work. I had a couple of school trip opportunities overseas and elsewhere, and I just fell in love with traveling, and I fell in love with the idea that you can get anywhere in the world in a day's time flying there. Um, so when I was a high school student and a college student, I figured that by the time I was 64 years old, which I am now, I'd be ambassador to the Soviet Union. That was my original career plan. That went away, not because the Soviet Union went away, but because I failed at learning the Russian language. Um, well, I can still ask for a beer in Russian, but so pivo, пожалуйста, just in case anybody wants to know. Um, but I came to aviation really through the policy route to the governor I worked for, who was very much interested in developing Virginia's transportation and aviation resources. And
And which governor was that?
Jerry Beliles, he was governor from 1986 to 1990.
I'm familiar since I actually live in Virginia, so I know exactly who that is.
Great governor, great fellow.
Well, I guess let me also delve in a little bit. Tell us a little more about the National Aviation. I'm going to keep doing that. National Aeronautics Association. Maybe I should just say NAA.
NAA, sure.
Yeah, well, I know you said it started in 1905. Tell us a little more about that. And I know that there's also some relationships with the Wright brothers, specifically Orville Wright. So if you could
Yeah.
elaborate on that.
Well, the National Aeronautic Association actually began in 1905 as the Aero Club of America. So
Okay.
anyone watching this who read the David McCullough book will see a lot of references to the Aero Club of America. And we were formed in 1905. I like to tell people that a lot of folks out there didn't even believe that these two brothers had succeeded in powered flight, right? And thought it was all fake and a rumor. And so NAA was formed in 1905, along with other organizations around the world. In fact, some countries had aero clubs even before the Wright brothers flew, like France, for example. But really formed to try to persuade people, number one, that it was true, and number two, that this was an important advance, that there was a future to it, that it was going to change everyone's life. Obviously, 115 years later, people understand that aviation is possible. They understand, in some vague sense, its importance. Sometimes I think they take it for granted, and I really want to try to get at that, in my time here at NAA. As you said, we have a rich history. The two main things we do that people really know about are we are proud to be the custodians of many of aviation's major awards, including the Collier Trophy, the greatest achievement in aeronautics and astronautics in the previous year, and the Wright Brothers Memorial Trophy, which is our highest individual honor, and that's been in existence since just after the death of Orville Wright in 1948. We also, and by the way, Orville Wright was a recipient of an early Collier Trophy. And if you look at the list of Collier Trophy recipients over the 115 years, you'll see pretty much a who's who of who made civil, commercial, general, and military aviation and space what it is, what we know it as today.
If I can interrupt for a second, what's actually interesting is one of the winners of the Collier Trophy was Frank Caldwell, who is our honoree this year for our December 17th celebration, going into our Paul E. Garber Shrine. There's a great picture of, I know we've had it on our website, it's a picture of him receiving the award from FDR.
Yeah, over the years, it really, I think, began in the Coolidge administration, and when at least through the Kennedy administration, presidents were involved in the presentation of the award, which is a tradition I would like to bring back. And then the other thing we do that people really know about is we are the official certifier and custodian of aviation records in the United States. So we've certified records for over the years, anybody from Amelia Earhart to Charles Lindbergh, John Glenn, Neil Armstrong, really anybody you can think of like that. We've certified their national and world records. You mentioned Orville Wright before. We have a contest and records board that oversees that function for us. For a number of years, Orville Wright was the chair of that committee, of that board. So when I tell people that, they tend to be impressed by it. I think it really just shows how far back we go and the kind of credibility that we have.
Yeah, terrific. I mean, yeah, if 1905 is just 2 years into the age of flight. And you're right, that is interesting that 1905, they hadn't actually flown in public yet. It wasn't really till 1908 till people saw them flying in public. And so that means your organization was really pretty forward thinking.
Well, we like to think so. Credit where it's due. The New England Aero Club, located up in Boston, started in 1902. I have to give them some credit for their foresight. A number of aero clubs around the country are members of ours. The Aero Club of Washington began in 1909. It was an effort in those early years to really convince people that this was not a rumor, that this was something that was actually possible, not only possible, but had been done, and that there was a future for it.
And how do you feel that your association helps promote aviation today? I know, you talked about some of the historical significance, but what kinds of things are you doing today?
Well, when we do the records and the awards, we like to try to publicize that. Obviously, we want people to know about it. We have all these new means of doing that these days with social media and other sorts of things. It used to be that we would have a sort of a stuffy dinner someplace and people would get dressed up, and the only people who would ever know about it were the people at the dinner. We want to try to break through that and get the word out that there's still incredible things. There's still very incredible things going on. We also work very closely with a number of other organizations. We talked about the National Aviation Hall of Fame before. Before we came on the air here. We have a webinar series with them to try to reach people and promote aviation. We're looking at a number of initiatives in the STEM area. Aviation's got a good really a good history, an underrated history in the sustainability area. We're looking at that. We're looking at our records program, and we're looking at some other things that we're doing to try to promote the idea that aviation is a sustainable industry and becoming more sustainable by the day. So we're not only doing the traditional things we do, the records, the awards, trying to publicize that. I'm a sports fan. I love records, so we want to try to get that out. But also looking at these new ways of getting the message out and trying to broaden the field a little bit. And especially, for one more thing, something we're really looking at, and it's been a board priority over the last couple of years, is how do we reach younger people? And so, especially, some of those partnerships I mentioned that we had before, the National Air and Space Museum as well, doing some projects. Right now, we're working on a project with the Air and Space Museum and the Hall of Fame, geared toward younger people to try to get more of them interested using aviation and maybe draw them into the STEM and STEAM areas.
Oh, excellent. Um, the other thing I wanted to say is it sounds like you're in all aspects of aviation. It's not just civil aviation, I assume military, commercial, et cetera.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, our records are set by number by they're set by astronauts and they're set by people flying Bonanzas. Our awards have been given over the years again to astronauts, and the Collier Trophy was presented a couple of years ago to Cirrus Aircraft for their Vision Jet, which is obviously a personal jet aircraft. This year, the Collier Trophy was given to the Boeing and U.S. Air Force collaboration on the X-37B, which is a very highly secret, and I'm not cleared for it, vehicle, a fully autonomous space vehicle. And even the unclassified parts of it are amazing. And I'm told that if you knew the classified parts, it would just blow your socks off. A lot of people don't know about us. We are also the overseer of air sports in the United States. So our members include the Parachute Association, which is, closer to where you're sitting now, Mike. They're in Fredericksburg, Virginia. The Academy of Model Aeronautics. I was on a call the other day of the board of the International Aerobatic Club and a number of those other kinds of groups. So we're the overseer of air sports in the United States. We delegate a lot of that to those organizations. They run the contests, but we certify the records. And that's really kind of an interesting part of aviation that I had not been involved in before. But it's a part of aviation. Modeling brings a lot of people in when they're kids. And I've met so many, astronauts and pilots and these kind of people who got drawn into it because they built models and flew models when they were kids. Aerobatics, I've met so many people through aviation, including in the airport business that I was in for so long, who were drawn to aviation by seeing people like Bob Hoover, for example, fly upside down, or Patty Wagstaff or somebody like that, do loops and things that are unimaginable, pulling those G's, So it's really a fun part of aviation.
No, it's interesting that you say that. Aerobatics kind of came into play for us this year because we actually started a new program of honorary members. And two of our honorary members this year are Patty Wagstaff and Sean Tucker, both very famous aerobatic pilots.
Yeah.
So I think that's funny. And the other thing that you said that strikes a chord with me is, as a kid, well, my father was a pilot. So I went flying with him from a very early age and honestly thought, most people went flying with their dads, not really. I think what a big thing.
I played catch with mine.
And so I had this fascination between all the books and artwork that he had. And then I was a big model builder as a kid. And so the majority of models that I built were airplanes. And so I've always had this fascination with the look of airplanes, flying, everything to do with it. And then, of course, as you get older, you get interested in the history. And I think that's something that both of our organizations are very involved with is documenting the history.
That's right.
Yeah.
You document the history. And, when I was interviewing for the job, excuse me, I remember saying to the folks I was talking to, documenting records and handing out awards and those kind of things are important. It's important to recognize great achievement. But the more important part of that is that it gives incentive for other people to keep going. And aviation has depended for 115 years, 115 years of the NAA, 117 years this week since the Wright brothers, or next month since the Wright brothers, on constant improvement and constantly just getting better and better. And, that's one of the things I love about what we do is that because we do that, it gives people something to shoot for. It inspires them. And so it's not just recognizing and honoring the past. It's about building toward a better future. And I really am very proud of the excuse me, role that we've played over the years in doing that.
And then maybe you can also help me with not statistics exactly, but if you could tell me a little bit about how many people are involved with the NAA? Do you have members? Is there a board? Just a little more of that kind of information.
Well, there are 4 staff members, so we're lean and mighty of our organization. We have 45 board members. A number of them are participate in the NAA through their corporate membership, and a number of them are folks who've made a career in aviation and contributed to aviation and wanted to keep contributing by working with us in the NAA. We have individual memberships for $50. You can become a member, and you could also, at that point, you'll get a subscription to the National Air and Space Museum's magazine, and you can get what's called the sporting license, which enables you to participate in air sports in an official way. And then we can certify your records and you can compete and that kind of thing. So we have a variety of individual members. We also have a number of really great aviation organizations, National Business Aviation Organization, Association, Airlines for America, Airport Council International North America, General Aviation Manufacturers Association, a number of others that are members as well. And plus, I mentioned the air sports. We have 8 different organizations that oversee their particular air sport. I mentioned a number of them earlier. And we have 6 aero clubs around the country, about to add a 7th, that in their own community promote aviation and bring people together through their love of aviation to help not only educate them about what's going on, but to do work in their community to spread the word.
That's terrific. Along those same lines, if somebody wanted to join, what's the process? I know you said $50, but what's the process?
All you have to do is go to www.naa.aero, AERO, and you'll find under membership, you can just click and get that taken care of. You'll be a part of our organization. You'll get all of our materials and be brought up to date. You'll be able to tune in to webinars and early invitations to meetings and that kind of thing. And I neglected to mention earlier, we're also part of the International Air Sport Organization. So if you're interested in that, you'll get information not just on what's going on here in the United States, but also around the world in those areas as well. So there's a lot of benefit to it. It's not terribly expensive, and the magazine itself is worth a big chunk of that membership fee.
Terrific. Well, this has been very informative. I don't know if there's anything else you'd like to add, but I know that I personally learned quite a bit, and hopefully people watching this have also learned more about the NAA.
Well, I hope so too, and I'd love to have all of our viewers join and work with us. Congratulations to you and First Flight and all you're doing to keep drawing attention to, a lot of people think, well, it happened 117 years ago and, all that. But if you're trying to think about inventions that changed the world, the invention of the airplane and what happened in Kitty Hawk that day, what the Wright brothers did in Dayton before that, to build up to that day, changed the world in ways that never could have been imagined before.
Yep, you definitely said it. Thanks very much. I appreciate your time today, and we'll continue on with our December 17th celebrations. Thanks very much, Greg.
Thanks, Mike. Look forward to it. Thanks.